Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples. Welcome to Ideas, a time where we sit down with designers and illustrators and publishers in the board gaming hobby and chat about how they got their ideas from just ideas to the games that fill our Calyx shelves and sprawl out over our tables. And today we have Nate Jenne from Last Night Games. How's it going, Jake? Sorry, Jake's your brother. How's it going, Nate?
It's all right. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So you know what? I just want to dive in because I love talking about games and I love talking about how people got into this hobby that we share. And often it seems as if uh board gaming hobby enthusiasts kind of have similar paths down the rabbit hole of board gaming, but maybe yours is different. So um how did you get into board gaming? Like, what did gaming look like for you, maybe growing up or in your adult life, or what's that look like?
Right. Yeah. So, similar to some of your previous guests, I grew up in a family that had just played a lot of games. So we had a lot of those older school games. We had Risk, and we had Monopoly and Battleship and stuff. We had a little more obscure one called Careers that I enjoyed playing. And
Mm-hmm.
over the years, we just played more and more games. And we're Jake and I are brothers, and we do our design together. And we just enjoyed playing together and just coming up with new random ideas.
So, did you have a favorite game growing up? Like,
I did like that careers game, which not many people have heard of.
Mhm.
There was this dungeon game that we played that was had little miniatures in it, and you kind of crawled through these dungeons. I forget the exact name of it.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun. Um, there was this like a short period of time where we got really into Monopoly. Like we actually read the real rules of it,
Mm.
and not that I'm plugging Monopoly by any stretch, but there was a little period there where we played it a bunch, and
I remember
we
actually,
always like to pull apart the games and talk why we don't like them or we do like them or that
right.
kind of stuff.
And you know what? Obviously, Monopoly gets a bad rap, but I actually remember having Monopoly Episode One, like Star Wars Episode One edition of Monopoly,
Uh-huh.
and the houses were, I don't know what they were. They were little buildings that like stacked up, and then they turned into the hotel. But the hotel kind of was like the Jedi building from Episode
Oh wow,
One,
haven't seen
and
that one.
I think that's what it was. And then the tiles actually slid in. So the properties were the board was thicker, it was plastic, and the tile slid in. So
Wow.
when you buy a property, you just take that tile. And yeah, I don't know whatever happened. I bet you my brother has it now that I think about it. He probably does. So you say you played games with your brother and you started this game company, Last Night Games with your brother. So who's better at games?
Oh, better at games. Um, Jake claims that I always win, but I'm not sure that's statistically true.
Okay.
So,
Were you guys always like competitive? And like, did you have more siblings, or was it just kind of you and your brother that kind of played these games together growing up?
yeah, we actually have two sisters. So it's me in age, it's me, my brother, and then two sisters. And
Okay.
I don't know, I think there was just enough gap that we didn't always hang out with the little sisters.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we played a lot of games. Our parents played a lot of games with us as well.
Hmm.
So,
And in my thinking back as well, my dad had a copy of like Millborns, which
oh,
nowadays I would probably hate that game. Um,
and
but we played a fair amount of family games as well. I
right.
remember.
I liked
Um,
Milborn, but I never played it by the real rules because we were little and I don't know.
I don't even know if I would have played it by the real rules, but now that I've kind of like looked into the rules, like you're looking for like specific cards, like it's almost just like just straight luck and whatever. But moving on from yesteryear, what are you playing these days besides your own prototypes and stuff? What do you enjoy playing?
It's funny that you mentioned that. Usually, by the time Jake and I get a game out the door, we're so tired of playing. We played it like hundreds of times, and
Yeah.
it's almost like, oh, I want to play new games. No, but aside from the stuff we're working on, recently, my wife and I have been playing Sagrada Artisans, the Legacy game. So she was really into that one, and we
Yeah.
were most of the way through that one. Um,
It's awesome.
yeah, it's
I'm not gonna say anything more. My wife and I finished it early this year. I'm looking at the copy, and we really enjoyed Sagrada Artisans.
yeah. We tried to get one of our kids in on it, and
Hmm.
none of our kids would have anything to do it. So it's just been two player, but we've had a lot of fun doing it.
Hmm.
We 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 like to try a lot of new games, but games I think that we've been playing repeatedly. We've played like Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. Has
Hmm.
been one that we've played recently. Well, I just tried out Maple Valley. That was a new interesting one. Oh man, I feel like it's like so many rushing in.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, just the other day I was playing Chicken with my kids, which is
Okay,
just a push your luck
that's that little
style ones.
keymaster game, right?
Yeah, Keymaster.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Little cylinder or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right
My
on.
kids recently got me some expansions for Happy Little Dinosaurs. My kids really get into
Okay.
that.
Okay.
They get in that game a lot, and they love all the funny things written on all the cards. So they for my birthday they bought me an expansion and made me play it with them.
Right on. And so that kind of like dovetails in nicely. You start, or it seems that like family gaming has been part of you and your childhood, and then you've brought that into, I guess, the next generation.
I hope.
And yeah, and I guess we're similar in that regard. My wife and I play a bunch of games with our kids and whatnot, and so how many years ago, like you and your brother decided to get into game design? Obviously, that's why we're chatting about this all. And you started Last Night Games, and I feel that you guys are creating games for tailored to families,
Yeah,
and that time with like just you, obviously for everybody, you know, you can play these games with game groups or whatever, but
yeah,
whether you have an official mission statement or not, I just get the vibe that you're creating family games. Am I right in
right.
that?
Yeah, I would say family games. The only qualification I put on it is we are trying to make family games that have like elements of strategy, so it
Mm-hmm.
keeps everybody engaged with it. Even more serious gamers don't feel like this is just the most boring game they've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, we like that lighter weight space, kind of gateway space. Um, I think it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of interesting things we can do. And I think it's growing, and new mechanics and ideas are being brought to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Things that they haven't necessarily done before, and there's a lot of good games doing that. I think of like Wingspan recently brought like some of those new mechanics
Mm-hmm.
into the mainstream, and that's we'd like to be in that space too, and help people have more fun with games and learn new ways to play.
Mm-hmm. So what is the name Last Night Games? Who
Oh.
where'd the name come from?
So that's yeah, that's a little bit funny. So we actually kind of had like a little bit of a false start with Last Night Games. So back in 2016, we tried to kickstart a game, and we really didn't know about the whole Kickstarter world, and we kind of failed miserably. But
Mm.
right before we did that, we felt like we needed to come up with a name and a brand, and my brother and I had been working on our games primarily at night right after we got our kids into bed.
Okay.
And so, like night after night, we were working on games, and my brother's like, we need like a brand, a company name so that we can, launch these games. And so kind of jokingly, we're like, well, Last Night Games, because what were we doing last night? We were working
Mm.
on games. And then furthermore, he's like, we need a logo. And so I got out my phone and with my finger kind of sketched a moon shape, and then I kind of wrote over top of the moon shape like Last Night, and then under it Games. And before I knew it, my brother had like literally taken that image without any like editing and put it on the box.
Oh
So
wow. That's awesome. I love hearing kind of like the ins and outs of things because I don't know, I'm a details guy. Lots of people tell me that, but
Yeah,
I love hearing how things come to be. And I guess that's why I love interviewing designers much like yourself, because I love hearing how games come from just ideas to tangible things that you can experience. And
yeah,
you know, we're going to talk about this little one right here, the finest fish, which I think um recently won like a major fun award,
correct. Yeah,
right? I know you have Life of a Chameleon, which also, what is that, the Mensa Award, and you've won
yeah. It was awarded Mensa Select. Yeah.
or Mensa Select, sorry, and Finest Fish, and I don't know, Life of Chameleon, both Dice Tower awards or Dice Tower approvals or
Uh,
seal of approval,
yeah. The
or one of the two.
Tower Seal of Approval is the
Right on.
right one
Which
for.
is fantastic, and
Yeah,
I've
we're pleased with with that for sure.
absolutely. And so let's dive into the Finest Fish because I'm like, um, I love spatial games. I love those puzzly things, and Finest Fish is that you're like building the scales of a
Yeah,
goldfish. And
yeah.
so
Well,
dive into that one. No pun intended. Dive into that when where did this idea come from? When did you guys start working on this? And let's take it from there.
definitely. Jake usually I feel like has all our initial ideas for the games, and then I just uh I don't know, tell him why it's a dumb idea. No, I'm just kidding. We
That's what
we
brothers are
like
for, right?
we were yeah, right. No, we I think we work pretty well together. But he had
Okay.
this initial idea of like a tile placement type game. He's like, I love the idea of like putting tiles down and creating like groups and adjacency and stuff. But then he had this idea on top of it. He's like, he goes, I don't just want the squares, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the standard shapes. He's like, we could do some kind of like tessellation or some other pattern. And he actually started off down the road thinking like peacocks.
Okay.
So I cut out a bunch of like feather shapes, and he drew a peacock and I cut out like that shape, and we started designing the game, and we actually did most of the game design and mechanics like with this peacock,
Mm-hmm.
building feathers out onto it. And that's where we developed the idea of like, adjacent colors and like a special one. In the game Finest Fish, the black scale is a special scale, always get you points. And we like the idea of like trying to achieve certain patterns, so we introduced the cards that give you these patterns that can earn you extra points if you get them somewhere in the, well, in that at that point is in the feathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of, it was big and it kind of felt unbounded, right? There wasn't like a
Mm.
natural ending to the
Plumes.
phantom peacock feathers.
Mm-hmm.
And the shapes kind of felt a little weird because they were kind of like oblong and such. And we were thinking about it and discussing it, and I think that's when it hit me like, what about like these things look like scales? Like, what if we
Mm-hmm.
made them more circular? And then I'm like, these look like scales. And so then it clicked in my head. I'm like, oh, we should definitely do fish. I feel like fish are a way more relatable animal than peacocks.
Mm-hmm.
you know, I feel like everybody's either had their own goldfish or had friends with goldfish, and so that idea really took off, and that's when we kind of gave like that bounding, right, that finishing point
Mm-hmm.
for the scales. And that's actually how we end the game, is when someone fills up their fish. And yeah, from there it really just kept clicking. Everybody that played it seemed to like get it and like it. And um, we had to, it was actually quite a struggle getting it manufactured,
Mm.
because we needed to get the right tolerances for the scales not to get too sloppy, or the boards to fit the scales correctly. And they have to like hand make the dies that punch out all those separate fish boards.
Mm.
And then we made it further difficult by having four unique shaped fish. We had to go several rounds with their manufacturer, but they were awesome and really, really helped us out. But it ended up being a lot of fun. And like, we also, furthermore, were really interested in like, so our first game, The Life of a Chameleon, was really colorful and really vibrant. Like, primary colors,
Hmm.
and you know, it's real playful and fun, but we were really interested in this idea of making more of like a palette of colors for this game.
Hmm.
And so we went like full into these like goldfish kind of colors that exist, you know, the
Hmm.
yellows and oranges and blacks that exist. And you know, we played around with that until we've had like a palette that we really liked and felt like represented goldfish really well.
Hmm.
um and it just kind of all came together, and we just loved how, like, I don't know, it's like this kind of casual zen feel to it, I think, in the
Hmm.
end, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and when you're done your goldfish, it's just satisfying to see, you know,
Yeah,
and hopefully you're the one finishing your goldfish so that it won't like move around and you get messed up. But it's just fun to see the patterns that you can kind of create, right?
yeah,
And I like the different shades of orange that you guys added, but then you added like the dots or the little
yeah.
like sprouts or a fountain or I don't know what
Yeah, we've
what
got
shape.
like the scales, the splish, which I
Yeah,
it's like that little flower shape, and then the dots. Yeah,
and I like the balance of having to just build clusters because I think actually for kids that's a lot of fun too, right?
yeah,
That just hey, you know what? I got like four, five, six of this. I'm just gonna draft those and just
yeah,
build and just build clusters and they could do reasonably well in the
yeah.
game just doing that.
It's true.
Add black clusters, and they're all doubled at that point,
Yeah,
and they really have a footing to do well in the game. And so yeah, I've really enjoyed my plays with my family and just that little puzzly tinkering around with your scales. And so I hope other folks look into the finest fish because I think it's a neat little tile placing game.
thank you.
And then moving on from that, you're I guess you're we're going to talk about your the future, but you just also wrapped up Panda Royale.
Yeah,
And
Panda
so
Royale is our
how did
newest.
that go? How was the design process in Panda Royale?
Yeah, so that was interesting. Again, I just got to give credit to Jake, because like Jake seems like he comes up with these initial ideas. They're really good, and then we just kind of hammer on
Mhm.
it. um, yeah, he actually started playing. He got out some dice. He was just trying to entertain his son, I think. He got out some dice and started rolling them with his son, and was like, "Hey, you know, like, what if these dice like double, and what if these dice, you know, determine who the picking order?" And he just started. He had just like some loose concepts. You know, he had some fun with his son, and then he came to me. He's like, "I got this idea. Like, I think we can go somewhere with this." And so we started you know, working on that. I Wow, I ended up buying like just like thousands of dice, because I was trying to get like the right colors and things, and I went and just bought like bags of loose dice, and I was trying to like grab the different sets together so we could have like these different colors. And then we started working on ideas like what can we do with this game to make like like, sorry, let me just stop. So the whole game is you start with one die, and every round you do 10 rounds, you gain another die. So at the end of the
Okay.
game, you're rolling like a huge handful of dice, 10 dice. There are D6s, there are D8s, there are D12s, and there's D20s in this
Okay.
game. So all the varieties of dice, which isn't how it started, but you know, we
How it
added
ended,
all there.
right?
So you each color of dice represents different panda clan with different abilities, and they're all joined together competing at their midsummer festival.
Hmm.
And you're like a clan chief, but you're drafting from all the various clans to make the best team to win, right?
Hmm.
And obviously you're scoring with the points to win. In any case, we started off with this idea of like the yellow dice. These will determine the drafting order. So every
Okay.
round we pull out as many dice as there are players plus one, and we go around and draft a new die, a new member to our team.
Hmm.
And we really really liked that idea of you know mixing up potentially the draft order every round, right?
Right. Yep.
Um, we even added more yellow dice. So everyone starts with a yellow d6, but we even added more yellow d8s into the bag. So later on in the game, you might draft a second yellow, and then your chance of drafting first is goes that much higher.
Do you then roll your two yellow and add the pips together or add the numbers together for
Yeah,
your?
exactly. So
Okay.
so each round you just roll everything you got. At first
Hmm.
we look at the yellows and resolve if there's any tie for the lead. We have to keep rolling until someone's a clear victor on the yellow dice.
Hmm.
And then and then we add up. But yeah, so we've got the yellow dice. They determine the drafting order every round. We have the red dice, which are interesting because they have both positive and negative numbers.
Hmm.
But in that case, you add up all your red dice and then multiply by the number of red dice you have.
Okay. Yep.
So it's like high risk, high reward scenario there.
Right.
We have blue dice, which are the most plentiful dice, and they just add up unless you get the special glittery die, which allows you to double the value of all the blue dice added up. Then
Hmm.
there's the purple dice that always double no matter what, but there's very few of those, a lot less in the bag. And then we have the green dice, which are the only d20s in the bag, but all the green dice are d20s. So they're
Okay.
just kind of your large roll, kind of reliable dice. We have a clear dice, which allows you to, after a round, at the end of a round, you can swap that with someone else's dice. So you can, take from them something that they've been rolling. However, in that swap, they now have a clear die that they can
Then
choose
swap
to
back.
swap back or something. And then finally, there's the pity dice. So every round, we look at the lowest scores for that round, and they get support from the pity die. And so
Okay.
we shuffle those around to whoever had the lowest round, and depending on the number of players. So this game plays 2 through 10 players.
Wow.
So at the full 10 players, there's four of these pity dice. So the lowest four will get these helps.
Kind of a
And
like
then
a catch up mechanic.
yeah, it's kind of a catch up a little bit.
Hmm.
So those are all pink D12s, and they help bring you up when you had some low rounds. So it's a little bit chaotic, right? It is it leans a little more into the luck, but obviously
Hmm.
there's some mitigation of that luck with the different strategies that you can choose.
Hmm.
And there's a little bit of like mind game there too, right? You've got to look at what other people are doing. If someone's getting heavy into the red dice, they could potentially score hundreds of points in a single roll. So you
Mm.
got to break that up or trade dice with them.
Hmm. Right on. So it'll kind of appeal to those that, just love like dice chucking games. Like I'm a big
Yes.
fan, like King of Tokyo, right? And
Yeah.
just have had some absolute chaotic and crazy rounds of King of Tokyo. And
Right. Right.
just
You know
some
this.
really high highs and maybe some really low lows at the same time, right?
Yeah. This game is so it's being really debuted at Origins
Okay.
here in June. We were able to take it to the trade show, the Gamma Expo,
Hmm.
and put it in front of a bunch of retailers, and we got really good reception for this game.
Awesome.
So we've got high hopes for it. But yeah, Origins, it is for sale now. People are buying it. We've got a lot of good feedback. But yeah, it's real debut as Origins.
Right on. So, and we'll find out, or we'll talk a little bit where people can get a hold of that game if they're not going to go to Origin 3 website. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. And then finally, I want to chat about Finest Fish, Life of Chameleon, award-winning games, Panda Royale. You just mentioned, and then let's look into the future a little bit. You guys have on your website um just a little bit of a tease for a new game called Alpine Trail. What's that
Right.
one all about?
Yeah.
What's the core
So
mechanic in that? And I should also say, just share what you want to share. If you don't want to share information just yet, like I'm fully respecting that. But what's Alpine Trail about? What kind of core mechanic is that?
Sure, no problem. No, I don't think there's anything incredibly secret about it. Although maybe Jake will come and kill me after the fact. It's like, what were you doing? No, um, so Alpine Trails, the core mechanic is it's kind of a path building tile placement type
Okay.
game. So it's like you have you're kind of crafting a national forest, if you will,
Hmm.
and you're just laying out these paths out there. So in the game, you're going to be able to score some, in various ways by building paths, making them longer, shorter, um, not shorter, making longer, making loops out of trails. You're going to be able to earn waterfalls and place your waterfalls and get points on like how the tiles, how many tiles they're connected to. You're going to be able to put in campsites, but you can't clump them together. You got to spread them out.
Mm,
Um, this will be a 1 to 5 player game,
okay.
and it it plays pretty easy. It's also a pretty casual game, um, and it now my mind's going in many ways, but it's a it's a pretty fun game. We've liked it a lot. There's little there'll be some little animal meeples that
Mm,
you can place into your habitats as you make it. But yeah, there will be scoring for longest trails. Each tile is double sided, so it's trail on one side and then it's a habitat on the other side. The trail side does have a habitat on it, and the backside has a habitat, but it counts for twice the habitat because it's without a
mm,
trail. Um, and so you're going to score for your biggest area of each of the habitats, your longest trails, the waterfalls and their adjacency, the campsites score you points, and the animals that you're able to place into their habitats. It's going to all
mm,
score you points. So yeah, it was inspired a little bit. So we live in the Western United States in the state Utah, and we are surrounded by mountains and
hmm.
trails, and we've done a lot of hiking, and so it was just kind of like, let's make a game that represents kind of this alpine
Hmm.
area that we live in.
Right on. Very cool. So is that going to be hitting Kickstarter later this year?
Yes. I think from what I understand from Jake, we got our pre-production sample today. So
Right on.
um, so that we're looking over that, making sure everything's good. So we're hoping to get everything nailed down and get the Kickstarter running pretty soon. So I don't think it'll be started before this airs, but hopefully shortly after.
Right on. So if people, I kind of alluded to, if folks want to see more about Finest Fist, which I suggest do, or Panda Royale or any of the games, your website, where can they find you guys on the
Yeah.
interwebs?
Our website is lastnightgames.com.
Okay.
Um,
And
and we
your
are in
social media as well.
yep, social media is largely last night games.
Right on.
Um, and yeah, we're in more and more stores all the time. So hopefully your local game store, you can find us there. If not, tell your game store that they need.
Absolutely. Right on. Well, again, man, this flew by. Thanks so much for taking the time, Nate. This has been awesome. I love hearing, how you got into the hobby and how you are just wanting to share the love of the hobby with other friends and family and bring more people to the table to create long-lasting relationships and friendships and memories.
Yeah.
And you're doing that with your brother with Last Night Games. So I'll post a link to Last Night Games website in the description of this video. And you know what? I truly believe that conversation is built on community, just like games are built on ideas. And so that's why I do this and chat with designers and illustrators and publishers and see again how they got their ideas to the games that we love. So once again, Nate, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
No problem. And again, Last Night Games, link to that in the description of this video. Cloud with Chance Meeples. We're on Facebook as well. Cloud with Chance Meeples. Till next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance meeples.